Hello people, today we're going to be doing another knife review with a dose of Drew, and today we have the Brad Zinker and Drop Dogtooth. I believe this is based on a Brad Zinker custom design. This was from Drop. They have since moved all of their knife sales over to other outlets, including places like Amazon. I believe Blade HQ right now is currently selling what stock they have left. So get on over there if you can. There's several of these. This also used to come in a carbon fiber and satin version with silver hardware. Very beautiful knife. I particularly liked the black hardware and especially the black clip. We'll get to that in a minute. And the Colbortia wood has a nice smooth, Colbortia or however you call it, has a nice smooth surface, much like nice sanded carbon fiber does. And it does have that nice look. Couple of things on this. This is, if you can't see, is a small flipper. It's very, very, very nice. I'm not going to do direct measurements right now. I'm not, as far as that goes, I'm going to go straight into something like size comparisons. So here it is to a Benchmade bug out and Spyderco Para 3. As you can see, it is approximately the same length as the bug out, but even slimmer to carry. On the curve, it doesn't have as much cutting edge, but it's approximately the same blade length and usable cutting edge as that. The compound grind is it longer, smaller, thinner than the Para 3. It is a really good size. Quite honestly, I find myself really carrying this knife a lot. It is a great lightweight carry. I don't have a scale, but it's right below 3 ounces. A couple others here. Kershaw Blur, as you can see, it is slightly shorter than the Blur, and not just any leak, but a random leak. As you can see, it is somewhat longer than the leak, with a bit more cutting edge, just a hair smidgen more cutting edge, but much more room for your hand. Slightly more handle, longer handle with similar blades. Very, very much in the same vein of EDC capability as the leak, but I'll show you in a minute with some definitely better qualities. One, as much as I like the leaks, I do not like assisted knives. I don't de-assist them, but it's not my favorite. Quick bit here. Oh, right. The large CJRB feldspar to help you give you an idea. Again, very, very close in length on that one. And also the small feldspar, both of these in the micarta versions with D2. You see, it's slightly longer than the small feldspar. Feldspar being one of the best, in my opinions. There's a couple other that can go in there, but one of the best all-around EDC knife values you can buy. One more, actually two more. We'll do one more sandwich comparison here. You've got the Rat 1. This is the Rat 1 that is a Knife Center micarta exclusive. You can see it's got the thick scales and everything. I definitely like the micarta on that one. Again, very similar to the Rat 2, significantly smaller than the Rat 1, sort of in that quote-unquote Goldilocks zone in between them. Definitely one of my favorite sizes here. So we're going through that, you'll find that I am not going to be doing a lot of size comparisons here. Just have one more. And that's right here with the mini Ritter RSK. Right, the mini Ritter Hogue. Very slightly longer. All right, so there's the size parts, you guys. There's a couple things I want to talk about this knife. One is, if you haven't noticed already, it has a compound grind. It's definitely a high, if not full, flat grind all the way out here with a little bit of swedge to give you some breakaway there when stuff moving on there, it'll drop off. And this very, very stout grind right at the base where you can, if you're moving through cardboard or anything tough, this right here will give you a lot of width right before. As you can see, you have this high edge for the same thing. It'll give you a lot of toughness behind that edge for that start of the cut. But once you're moving through, if you have lighter material, this high flat grind with the swedge right there, when you're moving through material and you start doing something like this, right? So you cut into it and then you start moving through. That's going to give you a lot of breakaway. Any even soft or wet materials will sort of pull right off there. Gives you a lot of versatility in cutting for such a small blade, especially when it's so short. I won't say short, but it's not very tall, right? From here to here, it's not very big. It also has a relatively unobtrusive handle. Some people will like it. I have found that this knife works best in a modified pinch grip where you can get your fingers in there. You can obviously get your finger right up on there and get it. It definitely allows it, as well as all of the usual, right? Get your finger out there for a draw cut, pick a sliver, open up a letter. This is a fantastic letter opener. This is beautiful. Couple of things I do want to mention. One, that tip. That long pointy tip right there. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see. It's a little bit dainty. It is extremely acute, right? It is extremely long and pointy. Any piercing tasks you have, I gotta tell you, this is one of my go-tos. Probably the standard leak, not the reverse tanto, similar to the like the randomly cast, but the normal leak that's got a point, and this one are some of the most acute tips I've got. They're very, very useful for things like picking a sliver or anything where you need a lot of both control and not, let's see if I can explain this properly. When you have a tip that's like that, any sort that's wide, like here on the bug out or some others, any sort of depth you need to go in is going to start widening any place it goes in, right? It goes, well, but the more narrow point, it goes in further before it starts opening up the hole. Giggity. So yeah, you can get a lot of control, and especially if you need it to do well, you need to get into a certain place where it's compact, or the quarters are, not very forgiving when it comes to space. Man, this little thing will work. Also, it is made by We Knives by Brad Zinker-designed. We Knives made and Drop. What used to be Mass Drop is now called Drop. They went pretty much to just audio and other stuff, and their knives and other EDC gear is now on Amazon. But it is S35VN. Action, as you can see, drops shut easily. It's a little bit of a light switch, but it's basically push button. It's somewhere right in between. You can light switch it. It's just not as good. It's really made it's really made to just kind of a little bit of a down with the push button action. So I actually am more of a fan of push button action than light switch, but so be it. That being said, the wood is nice. The contouring on this is where I really want to get into. I keep avoiding the pocket clip, but don't worry, we'll get to it. The contouring on this is something I really, really, really want to bring up. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see. If you can see how it gets wider at the back, the thickness of that wood right there, if you can see that versus where it is at the front, contouring's nice. What it basically looks like is before they cut out the silhouette, I'm pulling it out of camera, before they cut out the silhouette of this handle, they contoured it as a spherical thing, so that when you make this narrower here, it's all thick at the back. What that has the beauty of doing is making it wider here, so you have a flatter space with which to put it on your hand and get control. If you do it by thumb, it's not as useful. You have to kind of tuck it back in, and it sits a little high up in your knuckles instead of down in there, but it can't. On the reverse pinch grip, see if I can show it. That extra flat area means you have a ridiculous amount of leverage when you're squeezing it into your hand for your hand to maintain torsional control of this knife. So even though it is long and narrow where you would think, man, it's almost rounded, that extra flat space provided by that type of grind and the way that they did the contouring on this, which the contouring is fantastic. I am a huge fan of contoured handles. I think square knives suck, especially the G10 versions, as opposed to, say, something that's got a little bit of rounded edges to it. Square edges, even if they're slightly knocked down, are always a hot spot to me. So the flat spot and the contouring really gives this a lot of control when you're in the reverse pinch or the modified pinch grip, right? Where you got just a tip of your finger there. If your thumb's on that, your pointer knuckle is usually over the balance point, which is right about where that scale screw is. These are changeable. They do not hold the piece together. As you can see, there's stuff there. No lanyard, anything, yay. Right, so you got a really good pinch grip on here. This works good for that. Breaking down cardboard. I have broke down tons of boxes with this knife. It's lightweight. It is, I want to say under 3 ounces, but I think it's actually right at about 3 ounces. It is extremely lightweight. This is actually one of my, in fact, I can tell you, one of my absolute favorites. I better go grab the other one. All right, this is going to be easy because among all of the favorites, as far as lightweight, we'll go with the Pair 3 lightweight. The Wee Knives, I just almost called it the Feldspar. The Kite Fin, the Bug Out is quickly becoming a new favorite, and the TRMs. When it comes to wearing something like athletic shorts, lighter weight. I live in Southern California. I live in a warm climate. Lightweight knives that are small and easy to carry in something like athletic shorts or lightweight clothing, something I value highly. It comes in handy when I'm doing stuff in 90+ degree weather, or like we just had here in February. Had a week where we were in the high 70s to 80s in February. It's warm. You don't wear heavy clothes, even if it's February. And so it really does make, those are some of my favorites when it comes to, this is another one. And one of the reasons is something I've been avoiding until the last little bit, and I'll show it to you right now. This has what is perhaps one of the best pocket clips on a production knife or stock knife that I have ever used. It gets higher at the back. So you can look at that and you can say, hey, they didn't flush mount it. You can see there's a little bit of lift. But if you look at it from this side, it is. So it's a little bit thicker up here than it is here. So they flushed it to this one, and it sticks up a little bit on this side. So it is pretty, it's got flush head screws. It is basically flush to here. It has a higher, it's slightly taller at this back end, right? So you got, it's flush on this top. It's not on, it's on there, flush screws. You've got that constantly upturned bill. There's no little flat spot to really kind of go over. Make sure you got to leverage your pocket seam in there. It's always got it. It's got a nice long bit. There's plenty of room for seam in there. And then there's one other thing. If you like MXG and some of those, you'll appreciate this. You have the widening at the end. For those who don't understand the narrowing of the Wii or Civivi pocket clips on there, provides a narrower spot. You have to get it. You have to have a smaller part of your pocket providing the same leverage. So the stress on that part of the fabric is higher. If you have heavy fabric, it's probably has, cotton, something like that, denim, you probably won't notice. If you have something like nylon, athletic shorts, polyester, blah, 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 all of this wicking synthetic materials, that's a lot of stress on there, and they tend to just pull. I've actually pulled seams on my pockets before. If you're a fan of things like the Ritter Hogue, even though it's got that little bit, it has the same thing. It goes narrow and then widens again at here so that the leverage is spread over a greater part of your fabric. That's awesome. And with none of that, again, it's not only a constant ramp and a constant leverage there, But as it goes in and starts to need to lift it, it pushes up on more of the pocket. I can put almost anything in here and have it just slide, right? Bet. Actually, I know. Just for a particular person, this pocket clip will even let a sticker go through. It is easily one of the better pocket clips I have ever had on a knife. It is not a large knife, but for EDC, the narrow carry, the very, very small flipper tab that really, when you look at it, almost doesn't protrude the widest part of the knife. This is a fantastic light carry. It goes in jeans, it goes in slacks, it goes in athletic pants, goes in athletic shorts. You want to wear sweats? Yeah, you got sweats with thin fabric but a thick seam, like so many of the terry, cotton, the brushed cotton or whatever. This will do it for you. And it's got these nice contoured, let's see if I can even get that to look, these nice contoured handles. So it's comfy. As an EDC knife, this is great. If you don't like the looks of it, I do. This screams useful knife. I know that if I had to in a pinch, I could cut through some thick material right there, and it goes there. The worn clip design excels in draw cuts. It's great for moving through. You can, as long as you're keeping the, things on it. It's as long as you're keeping the path that you're cutting relatively straight. You're not trying to arc, right? Unless the material arcs, so you can keep it in the same spot. As long as you're trying to push cut or move it in a similar motion, as opposed to say, oh, we'll get something with a lot of belly here. Something like a Nessmuk style blade where you're coming through and you're actually starting it and then moving your hand so that belly is being used in a nice way. This one does really, really good with general everyday use. Fantastic. The worst part about it, and I can attest to this, one of the beauties of the S35VN steel is it is relatively tough for stainless, even with the black wash. I have bent the tip over. I have also pulled it back with a pair, believe it or not, with my Leatherman and a pair of pliers, basically, a Leatherman to pull that tip back to straight, and then dropped it. I've never had it bend. I dropped it on a hardwood floor, and that tip bent just a little bit. I would rather have it bend than break. That's what I like about tough steels versus something like this, just M390 or a lot of the others. I just poked my finger, that might bleed in a minute. So just to give you an idea of just how, let me see if I can pull some blood out. Oh, but you can see where it is. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. It is sharp. I've also sharpened this knife because I have used it quite a bit. I actually carry this knife quite a bit. The design of it, fantastic. Incredibly well thought out. Excuse me. Excuse me. For those of you who don't know, I don't edit my videos, so that one's probably going to make it in. This is too far along for me to do anything else. I like the design of it. It is well thought out. The way that they did the contouring, the way that they established that it needed to be like this. The pocket clip that is quite easily one of the best stock clips. Why every clip doesn't look like this? I mean, seriously, I want more of these. I don't, if I go to Wii and be like, hey, I don't know who to get new clips for, but if I emailed Wii and said, hey, can you provide me new clips for the Dogtooth? I'm telling you, just about anything that's got that screw pattern, space, or anything like that, I might start switching that sucker out for, just to have them here. Anything that's got the 2 inline screws, man, if they match. Anyway, I'm just saying, that's a really, really good pocket clip. Liner lock easily engages well into there. There's plenty of room. It's easy enough to take apart and maintain. Bearings in the pivot, so the action, if you haven't noticed, is just boom. It's snappy. Even on camera at an angle, it's drop shut, so it's even when you have uneven forces on the pivot, it still works really nicely, and the centering is spot on. Absolutely fantastic little bait here, and it doesn't take much. For the breakaway point when it comes over, it's like right there. That is almost straight. That is currently unlocked. For comparison, I'll just, oh boy, yeah, Benchmade isn't a good one. Oh, here, we'll do a handy dandy little feldspar here. That's the feldspar at its breakaway point, right? So if you're one of those people that doesn't like how you have to pull your finger back, way back in order for this thing to unlock, you don't. You can have your thumb right there. Boom. Right? There. That's all it takes. You don't have to, you get here, you could almost do it with your, yeah, you can. I have never tried that before, but I can actually, from this angle, I can do it with my pointer finger. I don't recommend it because it is pretty drop shutty and that keeps all of your fingers in the blade path, but at least your pointer finger will be the one that stops it first. But still, fantastically well thought out. The design is nice. It looks cool. This modified Warncliffe with the swedge and going down, and then instead of going really long, it just goes whop. Yeah, oh, awesome. Nice flat where you have the easy, just the Brad Zinker logo, the S35VN on the other side, not the Wii logo, but the drop logo. So there's that. Very, very clean. It's, this black aesthetic, the more I use it, you can see all of the little lines get worn in. You know, you get a little bit of silver, and this thing starts to take on a bit more character. Any other stuff that goes on that black that might start to wear it down, again, just adds character. I am a huge fan of the black hardware on this. Quite honestly, I wouldn't have the wood version if the carbon fiber version had black hardware. Carbon fiber is one of my favorite handle materials by far. But, you know, so be it. It's not the only one that I like. Micarta is another good one as well. And stabilized wood. So anyway, the aesthetics of it, it is polarizing to a certain extent. Some people like it, some people will hate it. It is definitely a nice, elegant design. And for those of you who don't, I recently had my light bulbs replaced in the room just to the side of me. So in order to make sure I have a lot of light there on. And it seems like, oh, I got glare galore going on with this here table that doesn't look like it in real life, but it most certainly is here. So please forgive me for this quality. Anyway, the aesthetics, I like it. I think it looks cool. I like the Warncliffe. I like the oblonged, ovalish handle. I wasn't sure at first, but man, the more I've carried it, the more I've used it, this thing is easy to pull out, get in, do your work, boom, done, back in the pocket. And it slides in and out of the pocket ridiculously easy. Ridiculously easy. Again. Oh, the sticker didn't do it that time. Oh, there we go. Here, I'll put it where it's. So even paper can get into there really, really nicely. It slides on easy. It's got just enough tension to keep it from sliding off of that easy, especially with the weight helping it maintain a tip up, pivot down orientation. So that's the mechanics of it. It's made by Wii. It is a well done Wii execution or construction and execution. So if you don't know anything about it, Civivi, Wii, or anything like that, it's well done. I mean, it's just there. Now, here's a couple things. It is not the cheapest knife out there, but what it is priced at is below 150 bucks. That's, wow, less than this, right? And actually, I believe it's just slightly less than this. It's at an extraordinarily competitive price point with good steel, good construction, and a good name behind it. This is fantastic. This is a great, as they call it, gentleman's carry or anything like that. This is a lightweight. If you're in slacks, if you're in shorts, if you're in something that is a lightweight fabric or something that requires that you don't want to have show a lot of knife, right? If I'm wearing something that's relatively thin, and even if it can support this Nessie, that's going to put a big, big print in my pocket, right? What is that thing in your pocket? Like, oh my God, can my wallet fit in there, right? This thing, it is thinner than my thumb. It takes up less space in my pocket than my thumb does when I put it in there to draw it. That's fantastic. The value, very, very, very good. There's other knives you can get cheaper. One of the knives that I think comes close to it that you can see would be something like the Ritter Hook. I believe those are at 150 bucks or 160 bucks right now. So you're looking at a similar value to that, in my opinion. Some people will disagree. It's a matter of taste, but materials, execution, and general stuff is on par easily with that type of construction. Hogue is fantastic, and we is no slouch. And yeah, so that it really does. Was I expecting much? I really wanted to say no, but I was, and it delivered. I was a little bit worried, about it. There's a lot of noteworthy points. It's really slick. The lines are nice and good. You can look at it from lots of different angles, and the knife looks cool, right? You get it from all there. A lot of people who are fans of this Wharncliffe design will understand exactly what I'm saying, and having that little bit of swedge gives you that much more cutting power and capability through different types of material. Those are some really good noteworthy points on that one. Its intended purpose, I would say, is most definitely the quote-unquote gentleman's EDC. This is a light-duty EDC knife. It can take on a heavy-duty-ish task every once in a while. You can actually, this thing will cut a zip tie. I can pretty much chop through it or pull cut through a zip tie. Basically, no problem. It can cut through cardboard. Oh, does it sing through cardboard, paper, and all sorts of other stuff? There is no doubt about it. So yeah, it definitely has capability in its intended, and possibly even just slightly outside of its intended purposes. The cost and value of it is right up there with things, I would say, like the Benchmade Bug Out, the Ritter Hogue, the Wee Kite Fin, Para 3 Lightweight NG10. Depending upon which one you like, they're usually basically fairly similar in price. This is right up there. It's not going to be as significant a value as say something like, I don't know. There's been a couple now under some QSPs where you can get like a titanium frame lock with S35VN for under $100. That's a hard value to compete with, but for what this one's doing, I believe this is about 120, 130. Please forgive me for not having checked that price. Again, I don't edit my videos, so this one's just going to go where it is. So yeah, there's that. The cost of value is great. And honestly, I expected a lot from this knife because I wasn't ready to do it. My initial thought was that looks a little dainty and I worry about how well it's done. I am really glad I picked this knife because it exceeded my expectations. And again, it is one of my personal favorite carries, especially in lightweight clothing. It works great in jeans. It is unobtrusive in the pocket, even as per, to use a Shabazz-ism, the pocket pecker here isn't large. It's relatively blunt. It's got some jimping to make sure you know where to put your finger, right? So you can actually do it, and it works great. But it's not going to ding up anything. The wood is nice and smooth while still providing great grip. The pocket clip not only is one of the best ones out there when it comes to just being a pocket clip for its intended function, but when you do grip it, it puts your fingers in a wonderful little place to make sure you have a good grip. And it provides a nice space between your fingers for some leverage back and forth. If you're out like this, you can actually pinch grip this with all of your fingers behind there, so you've got the pocket clip and the flipper tab providing resistance in any piercing or forward stabbing motion. I use stabbing, but it's a forward piercing motion. If I'm going like this, my fingers are going to be locked in on the back there. The front ones are going to be stopped by this. So any large piercing, honestly, you don't want to be doing anything too heavy duty because if it's hard material, that tip's probably going to bend. It is a dainty tip meant to go in, but by that token, you can sink this baby in a couple of inches to just about any material right up to that flat grind with very, very little effort. It doesn't take much to get that little tip all the way up to there. Slightly tactical. It could definitely be tactical if necessary when it comes to something like a self-defense thing. You've got a nice long pointy tip. It will stab, cut. You want to do a snap cut or anything like that where you're doing it like a slash or a slap at somebody, that tip and that flat edge will do wonders when it comes to soft targets. I don't ever want to do it, but it's there. Overall, I'm going to give this thing a fantastical. I really do like this knife. I highly recommend it. It's a good value. It is not cheap, but it's not expensive either. This is a high value knife. I can't actually stress enough how much I actually do believe in the value of this knife. If you don't like smalls, if you're a big knife person, if you're like, man, the only TRM I can have is an atom, which I really want a neutron, but I'm there with everyone else. I'm not the large knives. One of the I just don't necessarily need them, no matter how much I like them. I tend to not carry them, except for under special circumstances, like if I'm going hiking or something like that. There's special things I do take when I go hiking that are usually larger and more intended on doing those type of tasks. Everyday carry, this is actually right up there with so many. I find myself carrying this knife all the time. It jumps into my pocket on almost any lightweight material I have. Sometimes I've even done it for light hiking, shorts, nylon pants, slacks. I have carried this to work. I live in an area where I can do that, or the work where I've carried this into work before. In slacks, it doesn't show up. The black, if you've ever worn black slacks, black clips, or even just dark blue, black clips come in handy if you don't want people to wonder what that silver thing is in your pocket, right? I love black hardware. It shows up on khakis, but just about any other, khakis or gray show it off too much, but just about any other dark color, it blends in well. That being said, you guys, its design is great. The aesthetics, I like them. It is definitely a subjective and personal thing. The mechanics of it, tip-top, spot on. It is, the Wii action on this is right up there with just about anybody. There's some things you can nitpick it, but really this is one-hand operation, open and close all day long. The choil provides a great spot. If you do move your thumb back, the choil provides a great spot for your hand, right? I don't know if you guys can notice that. Let me see if I can do this right on camera where you can see. Boy, I don't know if I can do that. But if I pull my thumb back, the flipper tab, way down here would be where the choil. The flipper tab actually hits my thumb first. Get it out of the way. Boom. Right? It is a line lock. Again, mechanics out there. Noteworthy points, man, this thing's got the compound grind so you can do multiple tasks. It's got swedge, it's got the modified Warncliffe, it's got an unusual contouring scheme that really, really works well, especially with the pocket clip, to provide a nice wide space at the back where the pocket clip actually digs into your hand. And so when you roll your hand over, that little bit of area right there where that set down actually fits to your hand, so the pocket clip gives you some nice torsional control too. This knife has way more control than you would think for something that small. Its intended purpose as a light EDC, lightweight knife that can do some heavy duty tasks, absolutely excels on it. Its cost and value, its cost is a little high, but its value is still also high. So that's really good. And honestly, if you guys are expecting something like a cold steel or something really different, this isn't a knife you're looking for. But if you're looking for something that will do, I hate to say it like this because I know some people would think it was weird, but a church knife. Something you can put in your church clothes, something you can put in your shorts, something you can have in your gym clothes. If you walk out of the gym, you put your stuff back in your pockets. This thing can slide right onto your shorts. It's got a lot of versatility for its size and design. It really, really, really does well on those. In fact, I will say, if you haven't noticed, it's hard to get it to sit well on this side. It's much, much easier to get it to sit nice and like this. So if we do that, I'm going to see if I can do, left-handed ain't too bad. It is not very left-handed friendly, right? There is no space for a thing on there. It's a liner lock that is right-hand biased. There's no left-hand versions available as far as I know. So this really isn't going to go out there for the lefties. Also, for anyone who is a lanyard person, you're probably just honestly going to be trying to use those holes that are in there. Or more than likely, probably that last post. Though the first one right here, instead of the back spacer. This first one right here would probably be better, but this one's really close to that tip, and if your string might get cut. So there's not a lot of lanyard options. This is really not, well, for that, I like it. That being said, I'm going to wrap this up because I actually highly recommend this Brad Zinker Dogtooth. It is a well thought out and designed, well executed, high value folding knife. Takes up very little room in your pocket, still excels at most 90 to 99% of EDC tasks, depending upon who you are and what you do. And while looking good and elegant at the same time. There's so many tiny little touches, like the slight ramp at the thing with the jimping for the thumb over if you need to have it, if you're trying to cut away from yourself and the pinch grip don't work. There's a ton of beautiful, well thought out little details, and that is probably the best compliment I can give that knife, and I highly recommend it. I believe they've taken, they may still have some stock on their Amazon site, but I believe they've taken a lot of their stock and moved it over to Blade HQ. If you want to pick up another one of these, whether it be in the frame lock version or the liner lock version, I highly recommend you do. These are a really good knife that probably haven't gotten nearly as much screen time, review time, and just eyeballs on them as it should, because this is really, really well done. That being said, again, check out this knife if it fits your build. This one's been really, really good to me. I can't begin to tell you how much I like it. I use it as much as the Para 3 or the Bug Out when it comes to lightweight. Those are sort of the kings on those when it comes to that sort of stuff, and lightweight materials, all that sort of thing. I use it at least that much. The kite fin, the wee kite fin that has a similar lightweight and a lot of the same type of qualities, isn't in my pocket as much as this one. So there you go, guys. Highly recommendable. Definitely go check it out. See if any of the sounds out there for you. This one deserves a lot of kudos. That's been the video review of the Brad Zinker / drop Dogtooth and S35EN. That's the video, you guys. Go ahead, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, beware side effects, and remember to subscribe. And thanks again, everybody, when this has been your Dose of Drew. Have a great night.